Hi, it's Barry Neale here from Hypnosis Essex. If you suffer with erectile dysfunction or impotence, then this may be one of the most important videos you ever watch. Erectile dysfunction or impotence is not just an old man's problem. In fact, 25% of all new cases are with men under the age of 40. Now, typically, if someone is elderly and they get erectile dysfunction or impotence, often there is an underlying health problem that is causing that. But for men in the age of 30 to 40, or even 50, this is not necessarily the case. In fact, in most cases, it's a psychological cause that's the problem. There's something that's happened in that person's life, or there's something that's happening right now in that person's life that is causing this problem. And what we need to do is to understand this and treat it appropriately, because it's not just about getting over it. It's not just about manning up. It's not just about have a drink and you'll be fine. And it's also not just about getting a couple of blue pills and popping those, because that tends to make the problem worse, because then you really think you need those, and if without them that you're not going to be able to perform. So it really is something that we need to look at. We need to look at the psychological causes of erectile dysfunction or impotence in order to be able to solve it. Now, for some men, one of the causes is often something that's happened to them in their childhood. Some childhood trauma, some sexual trauma or abuse that has been simmering there under the surface, and then when they get old enough, then it causes a problem with impotence or erectile dysfunction. And if this is the case with you, then you almost definitely need therapy anyway, because the effects of that will have other ramifications in your life as well. And it's something that can be easily changed with effective therapy. So if that's your situation, then definitely go and get some help, either with me or someone else, because you can overcome that. But it's not always about childhood trauma. A lot of times it can be about things that are happening in your life right now or in the last few years. And it could be things like stress or anxiety or relationship problems or depression or performance anxiety, porn addiction, guilt. All of these things can have a problem, and it could be just one of those things, or it could be a combination of several of those things that are causing the problem. So let's have a closer look at those. Stress and anxiety, for example, can be a massive problem. Stress and anxiety has a tremendous effect on the body. It disrupts all your hormones, it disrupts the blood flow in your body, it causes all sorts of problems. You may or may not be aware that there are 3 types of erections. There's what's called a reflexive erection. Now, this is what happens during physical stimulus. There's also something called a psychogenic erection, and this is something that requires visual stimulation, so i.e. watching something or mentally imagining something that arouses you. And then of course there's nocturnal erection, and this is where you wake up in the morning typically with an erection, and that has to do with the hormones that are firing off in your body at that point. Now, all 3 of these have specific bodily systems of a complex amount of hormones and muscles and blood and emotions that affect those. So stress and anxiety can really have a massive
on
effect your erection if you're suffering with stress or anxiety. So these are something that you need to address and you need to deal with. Now, if you come to someone like me, we can help you deal with those stresses, lower anxiety levels, and it becomes then easy to then perform properly without any stress or anxiety. So that's something that can be easily taken care of given a little bit of time. Then it can be relationship problems. Now, it's extremely common for relationship problems to be an issue. I've had people who, for example, have had a bad experience with their partner, or perhaps a previous partner, and the previous partner or the current partner's not been overly sympathetic and ridiculed them for a one-off bad performance, And that's put doubt in their mind, and they keep replaying that over and over again and think, oh my God, if we have sex now, I can screw it up like I did the last time. And this becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. But it can be other parts of your relationship. It's not uncommon for people who are trying to get pregnant, for example, couples who are trying to get pregnant, that the emphasis on sex turns away from having enjoyment into we've got to have sex to have a baby. And now it becomes mechanical, and people are checking the times and checking the temperatures and checking what time of the month it is. And right, come on, hurry up, we've got to have sex right now because I'm at my most fertile. It puts a huge amounts of pressure on people. So that can also be a problem, because once that starts the ball rolling, again, you have one bad experience, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, and it just spirals out of control. Again, that is something that can be changed very, very easily with tools like hypnosis and NLP and some CBT type therapies. So it is something that you can overcome, and by working with that, you get your life back. So it becomes so much better. So, but then we've got things like depression. Now, clearly, if you've got suffering with depression and you're sad, you've got no motivation, you're not probably not eating properly, you've got no meaning in your life, then probably you're going to have no interest in sex. So that can be an issue. Again, this is something that can be addressed with proper therapy. So if this is you, pick up the phone, make contact with a therapist. You can overcome this. Then we get performance anxiety. Now this is very common, and it's kind of made worse by porn as well, because when you watch these porn stars and they're performing for 10, 20, 30 minutes or something like that, and you think to yourself, my God, that's ridiculous. And it becomes a huge anxiety. But the reality is, sex typically isn't that long. And so when you get this strange idea, this weird idea that you should be able to perform for 30 minutes or an hour or something like that, it becomes unrealistic. So there's a huge amount of pressure put on. But the reality is a lot different. So again, performance anxiety, definitely something I can help with, because that's something that I do all the time, reducing people's anxiety levels. And if that's you, get in contact, because I know I can help you with that. But there's other things as well. Porn addiction is a real problem these days. Porn addiction sets up not only unrealistic expectations, but more importantly, desensitizes men to what is real. When you watch all these things, the more you watch, the more it desensitizes you to the slightest thing. And you tend not to get stimulated by normal sexual interaction, because you've watched all this stuff and you become desensitized. In the same way, I mean, if you know anyone who's had a drug addiction, they might start off with a small amount of a drug, and that creates a big euphoric experience for them. But after a while, the body gets used to it, and they have to take more and more of that drug in order for them to get the same highs. Well, the same is true when you start getting down the road of porn addiction. The more and more extreme type stuff is the only type that stimulates you. So again, that is something that you can change, and I can help you change with that. So if this is your issue, you know what to do. So there's loads of things that can be causing these particular problems. So the question then becomes, how do you know whether or not your erectile dysfunction or impotence is caused by something physiological or psychological? Well, probably the first step is to talk to your doctor. Have some tests done. There are certain tests that can be taken that will indicate if there's an underlying health condition or a hormonal problem that could be causing the problem. So once they're out of the way, and if there's nothing wrong, then it's quite likely that it's psychological. But there's things you could do right now to work out whether or not it's psychological. For example, are you interested in sex, but you just can't perform? In that case, it's quite likely that it's psychological. Are you able to masturbate and get an erection by yourself? If that's the case, again, it's likely to be psychological and something that I can help you with. If you are going through lots of stress and anxiety, and that is your problem, then again, this is something I can help you with. If you have nocturnal erections, then everything is clearly functioning properly. So again, it's probably psychological. So this is something that you can definitely solve. It can be done relatively easy. Typically, a good therapist will be able to turn this around in maybe 2 to 4 sessions spread over a couple of weeks. But it's something that you can change. So if this is you, if you think you're suffering with psychological erectile dysfunction or impotence, get some help, because this will something that's going to really change your life. So I know it's something hard to talk about, and the last thing people want to do is to pick up the phone and talk to a complete stranger about this sort of thing. But you know what? We've heard it all before. As therapists have heard it all before. We're here to help, and there's nothing we like better to help people who've got problems. So if this is you, get in contact. I can help you easily solve these problems so that you can get your life back and start enjoying life and enjoying sex once again, because it's something that we should all be able to do, because it's a natural thing, and it's only our heads that get in the way. You know, dogs don't have this sort of problem. It's only us humans with our problems and the way we think. And what we need to do is to just change the way you think, change memories from the past, deal with stress and anxiety or depression, deal with childhood issues. Once you've dealt with that, you kind of like get a fresh start, and you can really begin to enjoy sex once more. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any comments, please leave a comment or like and subscribe, and I'd like to see you soon. Cheers.